everyone. Welcome, welcome. So great to see all of you here. My name is Liz Sulkin, and I would like to welcome you all to the Sustainability Laboratories Conversation Series. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tonight, it is my very special privilege to introduce you to Dr. Jim Garrison. Dr. Jim Garrison directs the Washington, D.C. office of the New Paradigm Institute, focusing on public access to U.S. government information on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UAP. He also convenes the Humanity Rising Network, addressing global concerns through daily broadcasts. Previously, he led Ubiquity University as founding president and remains involved as President Emeritus. With notable roles at the Gorbachev Foundation and the State of the World Forum, alongside academic achievements from Harvard and Cambridge, Dr. Garrison is an authority on comparative philosophy, world history, and the implications of potential extraterrestrial contact. He's authored influential books like The Plutonium Culture and America's Empire. Welcome. I'd like to throw it over to Dr. Michael Ben-Eli.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much, Jim, for joining us today. It's a pleasure and a privilege. Many in our audience may wonder about the connections between UAP and sustainability. So that's what we'd like to explore with you tonight. What we'd like is to discuss with you the history of UAPs, kind of the long secrecy and significance of recent legislation forcing disclosure, and of course the question of whether could help us rediscover our own humanity and reconnect with our planet's life-giving powers and assume an enduring sustainability path. So let's start by having you introduce yourself, give a little bit more of a personal introduction to our audience, the making, if you like, of Jim Garrison. Please tell us about growing up, milestones in your early development, important inspirations, influences, so forth. And of course, in particular, what prompted your interest and involvement with the UAP and extraterrestrial experience?
Oh boy, that's a big question. I will just summarize it extremely briefly by saying that I had the very good fortune of being born in West China along the Tibetan border. I have traveled and lived in different parts of the world. The essence, Michael, is that I've learned from a very early age that the world is round. And it's filled with all kinds of cultures, all kinds of colors, all kinds of idiosyncrasies, and all kinds of beliefs, traditions, mythologies, and ways of being in the world. And that's been a great gift. So even though I happen to be an American citizen, I don't have any particular allegiance to the United States. I feel planetary. My first citizenship actually was in China. And so till I was 18, I had both a Chinese and U.S. citizenship. And so I've worked globally and internationally my whole life, and now I have the great privilege, really, of working cosmically, as it were, as the human race begins to take in that extraterrestrial intelligences and civilizations are here on planet Earth, and we have to come to terms with them. And I would say, in my view, in a world that's spinning more and more out of control and becoming more and more unsustainable at every level, I believe that it's our encounter with extraterrestrials that may hold the key to the sustainability that we seek.
Well, we'll explore that a little more later on, but let's start. Could you give us, ancient civilizations in different parts of the world have left indication that can be interpreted as evidence of experiences of visitations and sightings. And of course, in modern times, there have been so many stories about all the way from sightings to encounters, communications, and abductions. Could you fill us quickly about the history of, how do you call it, UFOology?
Well, it's very interesting that every single major religious tradition asserts that we were created by some intelligence somewhere else, right? Whether it's the Jewish tradition, God out there created the heaven and the earth. The Christians in the Islamic tradition, they actually teach that we are ETs, that the human race came from another planet in another star system. And you can actually go to Sri Lanka to the holy mountain there and see where Adam first set foot on planet Earth. The Hindu tradition is full of worlds and galaxies and celestial beings, and Buddhism similarly, with the whole notion of reincarnation. The Taoists have this dance to the 28 constellations. So ET contact is not only embedded in all the traditions, almost all the indigenous traditions, but there's also a collective memory that they've tinkered with us through genetic engineering and through various other mechanisms for a very long time. So that the fact that they're here now is an indicator, in some ways, that they're back in a very powerful way. This is not the first experience. We just aren't used to thinking about that, and we've excluded it as a possibility. But now it's become so incontrovertible, even the scientific reductionist West has to admit that we are not alone.
And well, that statistically, of course, makes a lot of sense now that we are aware more and more of the size of the cosmos itself. But in the last 80 years, of course, there's been all kinds of phenomena reported and so on. Would you comment on that a little bit?
When the United States dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki after testing the nuclear weapon in Alamogordo, New Mexico, from all accounts, that sent alarm bells throughout our galactic neighborhood. And extraterrestrials started to show up. The first sightings were actually right next to Alamogordo, within a month of the Trinity test on July 16th, 1945. There was the famous Roswell crash in July 8th of 1947. And so the ETs apparently were alerted that something had gone wrong on planet Earth, and the human race was getting out of control and getting extremely destructive. And if you take a cross-section of all the conversations that people have reported over the last 80 years with various extraterrestrial species, the most common thread is that they're concerned that we're developing nuclear weapons and nuclear power technology. Because the radiation from nuclear weapons, the radiation from nuclear power plants mutates life. It destroys life. And we have by all accounts, we have a particularly precious, ecologically diverse and abundant planet. And they have a lot of concerns about the way we're comporting ourselves, because the human race has essentially become a virus. We're destroying our host. We're destroying ourselves. Right now, as we speak, the Israelis are committing genocide in Gaza. I mean, and in Somalia, people are starving to death. I mean, how many people around the world are poor and destitute? because of the violence of our economic systems. So we're
So
treating each other and we're treating the world ecosystem in horrendous ways.
So there's obviously in the those decades that you are speaking about, since the first nuclear advance, these decades have been characterized by a complete veil of secrecy, denials and cover-up and misinformation. What is the story behind that obstruction? I think you have some good idea about that. And also another question that relates to that: how can the layman, kind of the healthy skeptic, navigate this ocean of confusing information or misinformation that is also fertile ground for all kinds of charlatans to tell stories of their own?
Well, I would refer your listeners to Richard Dolan's monumental history, which is called UFOs and the National Security State. It's 2 volumes. And he basically exhaustively, dispassionately recounts the history between 1947 and 1991 and the end of the Cold War. He's now working on another 2 volumes, which will be released over the next several months. But if people want to get a thorough history, I would refer you to Richard Dolan's UFOs and the National Security State. If I had to summarize it briefly, I would say that in the immediate aftermath of the Second World War, when the United States really was the global superpower without challenge, what began to happen was alien beings and aircraft started to fly over U.S. airspace that the U.S. military had no capacity to control. And that freaked everybody out. I mean, just think about it. Here you've just defeated the Nazis, the Japanese. You've established with 1,200 military bases around the world, control over the planet. And then all of a sudden, there's these alien craft that are flying all over. And they're outmaneuvering you. They're showing the capacity to come from outer space, do right-hand turns. They defy the laws of physics. They can go underwater and travel 300 miles an hour underwater. They can go up into the air. They can do anything. And the U.S. government had no idea what was happening. They thought it was first the Russians or then the Chinese. Maybe it was the Germans, even though they'd been defeated in the war. Maybe this was some secret Nazi capacity that they hadn't been able to find out about. So understandably, given the exigencies of the post-Cold War period, what President Truman did was create essentially the beginnings of the military-industrial complex. Everything was completely secret. The military didn't know what to do or how to understand the phenomenon. So they contracted with major aerospace companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and Raytheon and General Motors and Ford Motor Companies that were building the war machine. They considered the UFO phenomenon so threatening that they classified it as more secret than even nuclear weapons technology. And one of the layers of secrecy was to deny that it even existed. And let me just dwell on that for a moment. All of us know about nuclear physics. And then there's nuclear weapons. But if you go to any major university, there's a physics department, and then there's nuclear medicine, and everybody knows that there's nuclear physics. But what's classified are nuclear weapons information. With the UFOs, not only they deny the UFOs, as applied in technology. They denied that it's like the US government denying that nuclear physics exists. And then going to great lengths over 75 years to continue to insist that nuclear physics doesn't exist because they don't want you to know that nuclear weapons exist. That's how bizarre it's been. But they were so successful. The CIA manipulated the mass media and the academic institutions so successfully that within 20 years, anybody who talked about UFOs was considered slightly crazy, right? But that didn't mean that the phenomenon didn't exist. And in fact, it began to proliferate because the more nuclear weapons in Russia and China and France and England and the nuclear submarines, the more the ETs began to monitor what was going on planet Earth and began to abduct people and engage in what is called animal mutilations and began to build bases underneath the sea. And so the ETs have been increasing proportional to the lethality of the major superpower nuclear arsenals. And that's why it's been kept so secret, because they've been trying to reverse engineer the ET technology and build UFO weapons. That's what the Russians have been doing, the Chinese have been doing, and the United States have been doing. And meanwhile, the public has been kept completely in the dark.
So, amazing. You have very strongly hailed the advent of this recent legislation that will force complete public disclosure and information about UAP as a seminal moment in human history. Can you briefly describe the relevant legislation and its significance in your view?
Yes. It was not possible even for the U.S. military and intelligence communities to keep this phenomenon secret. It began to seep out because it was happening all over the world. And as scientific equipment became more and more sophisticated, pictures started to be taken. Radar started to track them. So more and more incontrovertible scientific information started to come out. And then whistleblowers, people inside the US government, began to talk about it. And they began to say the US government has retrieved alien spacecraft, they have retrieved alien bodies, and that there's been a cover-up. So that began to come out. And then last July 23rd, the House Government Operations National Security Subcommittee held a hearing in which a major in the U.S. Air Force, David Grush, testified under oath in public that the U.S. government had alien craft, they had alien, what he called biologics. There had been a cover-up, and everything kind of blew up at that point. So Senator Schumer and Senator Rounds in the Senate, Democrat and Republican, submitted an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act of 2024 called the UAP Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act, and got it through. It was stripped down, and the legacy tried to destroy it and everything else like that. But on December 22nd of last year, Joseph Biden, President of the United States, signed into law the UAP Records Collection Act, stating in law that the U.S. government is in possession of technologies of unknown origin, non-human technologies, and non-human intelligences, and that all government agencies and contracting corporations have to begin turning over all the information that they've accumulated over the last nearly 80 years since the end of the Second World War about UFOs. And so that was the death knell of secrecy. It will take time for all the information to come out, but the intent of the legislation is all that has to be turned over to the National Archives of the Library of Congress with the purpose of disseminating it into the public domain. So we are now at the beginning of a post-disclosure world, because the major government in our world has basically signaled that extraterrestrials exist. They've been on planet Earth for some time. There's evidence of contact and communication, and that the evidence is now going to be forthcoming. So humanity is entering into its ET moment. It's an extraordinary milestone in the history of our species, because we are experiencing really a second Copernican revolution. Mm-hmm. And the first one 500 years ago said that the Earth was not the center of the universe. Neither was the sun. We revolve around the sun, but the sun is a minor star in a minor galaxy in an expanding universe. But we still harbored this illusion that we were the apex species. And now with these advanced civilizations coming down out of the heavens onto planet Earth, we're beginning to realize that we're really small players in the overall scheme of things. And as humanity enters its ET moment, Michael, the real question is, how are we going to preserve human sovereignty? And the only way to do it is for us to stop killing each other, stop killing the ecosystem, come together as a single human species, and begin to act in a synergistic, sustainable way with the larger planetary ecology. That's the only way we're going to survive this.
So you've highlighted the promise of potentially incorporating unimaginably advanced kind of non-human technologies that could help us resolve some of the sustainability-related challenges that we currently face. Energy, of course, climate, those kind of things. Now, this technology could also be used, of course, for destructive purposes. The difference between living-ry and killing-ry, as Buckminster Fuller would have put it. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. The reason why the military-industrial complex kept it secret for so long is they were trying to take cosmic technology and build a weapon system that would really beat the Russians and really beat the Chinese, right? The Russians and the Chinese are doing the same thing to beat the Americans. The reality is that the extraterrestrials are using energy technology that, if understood, could create free energy for every person on the planet. It could end poverty. Just imagine if you had a little box in the corner of your room and you ran everything on it for free. No utility bills, you drive your car, you don't use any fossil fuels. You're taking energy, as Nikola Tesla said 100 years ago, you can take energy out of space. Space is not empty. Space is full of energy and information. And in fact, one little integer of space, not half the size of a grain of rice, could power all the energy needs of the whole planet for a year. That's how much energy is in space. So what the ETs have figured out is how to do that. And then they figured out that you can trim tab on gravity. That rather than gravity holding you down, and then you've got to take these big rocket boosters that you see at Kennedy Space Center and thrust up to break through gravity, and finally you get into outer space. That's all primitive technology. All you have to do is understand the algorithms of gravity, and you can use gravity as a propulsion system. And if you understand that, you can start traveling at faster than the speed of light. That's how they get here from, Alpha Centauri, 30, 40,000 light years away, is because they know the laws of physics to such an extent. But rather than the government sharing this information with the world public, they've told us it doesn't even exist. You're crazy if you even talk about it. And we're secretly trying to build a super weapon, a UFO weapon. That's how delusional the US government has been, and the Russian government and the Chinese government. The governments are consumed. That's why we're on the precipice of self-destruction, because we're consumed with killing each other, destroying the ecosystem. And we're not paying attention that we've got technologies available all around us that can solve all our problems and enable humanity to live abundantly and sustainability indefinitely into the future. That's what ET technology is here for, in my view.
I had a question about this. You probably are aware of all the recent very exciting advances in fusion technology at Livermore and other places, which of course will, if it works out, and some people think 10 years we can have fusion reactors operating, then yes, one bottle of water can fulfill the whole needs of the whole United States, kind of thing. And I think that those advances have not been looked favorably, let's say, by some interest in the economy and the government. Also, I just noticed a week ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal talking about the new Pentagon report that says that, there's no evidence of anything. So going back to the question before, do you think we'll really get that revelation completely? Do you think that things will actually be made public, or will this obstruction continue to prevent us from, whether from it is or ourselves, getting to more advanced ways of doing things?
I think that the obstruction will continue ferociously. And I think it'll happen not only in terms of information with regards to ETs, but also any kind of energy technology that in any way threatens the primacy of fossil fuels.
Yeah.
You can go back 100 years. And in fact, I would refer everyone to Stephen Greer's documentary called The Lost Century. In The Lost Century, Stephen Greer and the Disclosure Projects lays out that we have literally lost a century of completely free, universally applicable energy. And it's because of the alliance between the fossil fuel industry and the military industrial complex. So when breakthroughs come, starting with Tesla, he was harassed, he was ridiculed, he was intimidated, and when he died, all the information was taken and it kind of disappeared. And different ones like Tesla have emerged with, there was 20 years ago, there was a guy in France that showed how you could run a car on water. And what they do, it's snatch and kill. They buy up the patents, or they buy up the technology, and then they kill it. They put it in a box in a dark room, and it's never seen the light of day because they want to sell oil. So what is happening is a level of criminality, Michael, that's unprecedented. We're on the precipice of self-destruction, and it's all happening because of the avarice of the major global corporations and governing elites, when we have available to us all the technologies we need to solve all the problems that we have, but they're specifically, intentionally not applied because they threaten the profit of the major corporate interests. It's an extraordinary situation.
Now, beyond this state-shifting technologies, there are obviously many, how should I say, psychological, emotional, and consciousness-related questions involved here. So could this mega aha that may come with humanity's ET moment, as you call it, produce the kind of shift in consciousness that will help us rediscover our own humanity and reestablish an intimate connection to Earth, or Mother Earth, as we all like to say?
I think that's a real possibility. I think what is inherent in the ET moment is a common narrative. We are not alone. That every person everywhere in the world, for exactly the same reason, can embrace. And if we all know that we're one single human race on a small little planet, why do I want to compete with you? Why do I want to take advantage of you? Why do I want to hurt you in any way? We should be interacting consciously like a beehive. We should all be synergistically working together for the greater good so that abundance and prosperity can prevail. And it's our hope at the New Paradigm Institute that people can start training. We have training programs in partnership with Ubiquity University where people can learn the facts, the history, the law, the politics, the technology of unidentified anomalous phenomena. We have a certificate on extraterrestrial awareness and communication. Turns out that if you can learn remote viewing, if you can learn mental telepathy, you can communicate with the ETs because that's how they communicate. And extraordinarily, if you can communicate with your own pets, if you have a dog or your cat or a parrot, or if you talk to the trees or you talk to birds or whatever, if you can engage in any kind of interspecies communication, you can start to communicate with the ETs. So you're asking the right question. To fully embrace and benefit from our ET moment, humanity is going to have to refine its consciousness by learning what I call the mother tongue. Instead of learning Greek and Hebrew and French and German and Chinese, we should be learning how to communicate with other species. We should be sitting down and communing with the extraterrestrials because they'll tell us a lot. That's what we really want to learn, because we're right at this cusp of looking up and we need to know what we're looking for. And that's what's so exciting, at least for us at the New Paradigm Institute at Ubiquity University, for the kind of training. We're setting up citizens for disclosure groups all over the United States. So this public should be getting involved in this, learning the language of the ETs, and ushering in a more sustainable period of human history.
You know, maybe we can take a step back from the sublime to the mundane, or go back to the legislation. And I noticed that it was really bipartisan effort.
Yeah.
What does that tell us?
Well, that tells us that this is the one issue in Washington today where the alt-right, the Matt Gaetzes and the Tim Burchetts and those guys, and the progressive left, AOC and Jamie Raskin and those guys, all support UAP disclosure. It's extraordinary. So when I'm working with people, I'm working with Trump supporters, Biden supporters, and it's not a blockage. It's only interesting because we're working on something that's bigger than both.
The bigger than both, yeah.
It's a wonderful feeling. to be in a totally bipartisan, transpartisan modality.
Quite rare. So, assuming a complete and honest disclosure and eventually real broad-based, unhindered connection with ETs, direct, how can we prepare for it? How can we get ready for communicating, interacting, sharing, and partnering with such mind-blowing possibilities?
I think we have to educate ourselves in the first instance. That's why the new paradigm and Ubiquity are coming out with the training programs. And you can get master's and PhD degrees in ET studies. We're the first university anywhere to have an explicitly extraterrestrial studies program. It's one thing. Citizens should just become involved. That's why we're creating these Citizens for Disclosure groups around the United States and around the world. People should start thinking about ETs, start paying attention to the UFO, UAP domain. You can get extraordinary information on YouTube. There's all kinds of websites that are out there. So there's lots of information available. There's documentaries that are available on Netflix. So I would encourage all of your listeners to just start Googling UAP, UFOs, and you'll just get a wealth of information because more and more information is coming out all the time. So the more you're aware of it, the more you talk with people about it. And the reality, everyone, is that it's not if UFOs are true, it's since UFOs are true. Mm-hmm. We're in a post-disclosure world, and just taking that in shifts consciousness.
Something, maybe a little provocation here. A positive and hopeful view has been that ETs are observing us with alarm and that they're trying to help us abandon our destructive ways with each other, as you say, and with the ecosystems. Could there also be destructive ET forces that are intent on driving us and the Earth itself to oblivion?
I think the available evidence shows that there are multiple species of extraterrestrials that are present here. There have been upwards of 100 different kinds of extraterrestrials that have been noted over the last 75, 80 years. There's 4 or 5 predominant ones. One hears a lot about the grays, the small grays, the ones you see like in the Steven Spielberg movie, kind of a big head, big eyes, kind of gangly arms and 3 fingers on each hand, etc. They have different agendas. I don't think there's any reports that I know of that extraterrestrials are wanting humanity to annihilate the planet and destroy it. I think it's more subtle than that. I think, by all accounts, the extraterrestrials recognize that planet Earth is a rare and ecologically dense and diverse ecosystem. It's very valuable. They observe that the human race is acting in an incredibly destructive way. So the information is that they are here, they've been here for a while, and they're engaging in social modification. And this is where it gets interesting. They view planet Earth and the human race as assets. They want our resources. They're sophisticated enough to know you just don't come in and blow up the place, like the Europeans did to North America, just kill everybody off and, move west. That you don't want to do that. You don't want to destroy the nest. You don't want to destroy the species that would make good workers. They've been abducting humans by the thousands over the last 80 years, all over the world. They've been engaging in hybridization programs. They've been building bases underneath the earth, inside mountains, underneath the sea, in lakes. What's at stake with our ET contact, as I said at the beginning, is human sovereignty. Because we're acting in such an egregiously dysfunctional and unsustainable way. The ETs are gonna modify us and tame us. And when it's all over, any kind of human sovereignty and free will may be engineered out. And we humans need to take that in. That our ET encounter isn't, the Spielberg movie. These are very sophisticated beings. They're here because they're alarmed at how humans are treating each other in the larger ecosystem of a planet that is incredibly rare in the universal scheme of things. And they are doing things now and have been for some time to begin to modify and control human attitudes and behavior. And we need to understand that. And that's why the New Paradigm Institute and Ubiquity University and others are working to educate people, because if we don't pay attention to what's happening, the drama may be over before we even know it begins. And that's what's at stake.
So that leads me to another thought that I had the other day. Could it be that the letter A in UAP indicates that in relation to the deep collective consciousness shift that is required to bring our civilization back from the brink, the anomalous must become the new norm, the new normal.
Exactly. And once we understand that this is the new norm, very good point. Once we understand that this is the new norm, we're going to realize that everything we thought was human might go away, as we're genetically engineered and socially engineered to be workers in a planetary ecology that is controlled by somebody else. We're in the process, Michael, of being colonized. But we're not being colonized the way the Europeans went into Africa and went in with big ships and horses and guns, and it was all very crude. We're being colonized by beings who know us better than we know ourselves, can get inside our minds, can shape human behavior from the inside out. That is not a friendly thought. And that's why we have to pay attention. There are multiple agendas out there, and we need to take that very, very seriously.
Really thought and heart-provoking perspective that you painted for us tonight. Thank you so much. We really held you on much longer than I promised you. And you were very patient and great to have had you. I really look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon, perhaps. Thanks again to everyone for joining us, and we'll see you everyone. The next session.